What's up, guys? Oh, that's loud. Let's try that again. Yes. Sorry about that. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Another episode of Rest Day. Man, after last week's climatic, I don't even know if that's a word. Talk about the rim to rim to rim. I felt like going into this week, I'm like, man, what do I talk about? But then I realized what this whole operation is really about. And that is to document the whole process. And rim to rim was only a small step. So one thing I didn't really talk about last week with the talk of rim to rim to rim was my exact training for that week. Also the days after rim to rim to rim and heading back from the Grand Canyon. And then also what this week looks like, what my next week, which is the week I'm in right now, my biggest peak week that I'm going to have. And then we start to taper. And for the last 5 or 6 weeks, while we've been trying to talk about that, my coach hadn't programmed in. So we didn't know what my biggest peak week was. And we didn't know what taper looks like. We now know the full picture. And I think with that, having the whole picture, man, everything is just starting to feel so real. And I have buddies that are doing it. Jacob usually hops in a live stream here. Man, he's already packing. I'm not there yet, but I'm almost at the point now where I'm starting to look at the 10-day forecast. And oh man, things are getting so real. I was just talking to my buddy Christian, and I'm so nervous that, well, I can't differentiate between my nerves and my excitement to the point where I'm almost not enjoying it. Like I went on a little bit of a temper tantrum the other day on Instagram when I found out that spectators aren't going to be able to be at the start. And the Stoics remind us never be overheard complaining, even to oneself. So I ended up taking that little rant down. But at the time, I was just so upset when I saw that, spectators couldn't be at the start, because I feel like a local 5K or 10K or even a marathon, not to knock the marathon, but you can get there on your own and you can do it. And yeah, the people want to come see you, but I would venture to say that very, very few of us can get to the start line of a 100-mile race without the support of other people. Like I'm sure there are people that do it in solitude, but I just feel like the whole experience of me going to canyons is going to be a group experience. The hours that my wife has sacrificed, while I'm out running and listening to me whine and complain and ups and downs, the highs, the lows. I quit this sport. I love this sport. My brothers, me blowing them off, not hanging out. Like all the people that are coming to the race, I was so mad. So I just want to apologize for losing my cool. I very rarely lose my cool. And hopefully you weren't looking at Instagram in that 20 minutes that I had it up. But let's dive right into it. Let's look at not only this past week, but also the week before that with the Grand Canyon. So you could see the whole week at a picture, because I didn't do that. If you are watching live, thanks for joining us. Please leave some questions, comments, concerns, anything you have inside the comment section. I would love to discuss anything you want to talk about. And if you're catching this live on Spotify, know that we do go live every single Monday between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. Tonight I got the kids down to bed a little bit late. So yeah, we will do that. Even after Canyons is over in 2 weeks, we will continue this podcast because I've loved it so much. And we have other adventures planned. So don't think that this is all going to end. And I guess we'll lead this podcast into the end of the year when we do have Lean 100, but some really, really dope things. Also, too, we got a couple supporters on Spotify now. With the amount of views I have, you can support for like $1. Almost, I want to get to the point where the thing that I'm using to stream this live stream, I can maybe break even on that. So thanks for the support. When we get to 5 or so supporters or so, I'll make sure that I read everybody's name and give them a personal thanks. But Todd's in the chat. What's up, man? Thank you so much for joining. Todd, you always have good questions, man. If you have any good questions, please let me know. So the week of the Grand Canyon, like I said, we spoke about it briefly, but here's kind of what it looked like. The day after was just roll and stretch, active recovery. I had a lot of time in the airport. And then I ended up running on Sunday night when I got home, which was Easter Sunday. After dinner, 8:07, got out for 5 miles. Nice 8:33 pace, which is pretty standard low zone 2 heart rate. Average heart rate was 138. And surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, but I felt so good on that run. I really, really, really did. And it was a good confidence builder because anytime I've gone up to 50 miles or more, it takes me a couple of days to recover. When I said last week that I had no issues, like none physically after the Grand Canyon, I was telling the truth. I had 0 issues after the Grand Canyon, which that Sunday night really, really, really was awesome. Oh, we got a question. Dan Runs, what's up, man? Let's see what we got. I'm having trouble keeping my pace after 5 miles. By 10, I'm doing 13-minute miles. Any new tips for a new runner? So, yes. And sometimes we don't want to hear this, but look up the Callaway method. And back when I did the marathon with JJ, I talked about the Callaway method, which is essentially a walk-run program on different intervals. Different run, the walk intervals are always 30 seconds. And depending on how fast you want to finish that marathon or any other race, that's how long the interval goes. And I know people that have gone like 3:15, 3:30, walking 30 seconds in different intervals. And JJ was not an experienced marathoner. I mean, I think he was running like 15, 20 miles a week, inconsistency, came off injury. And I told him, dude, we are going to jog for 1 minute and we're going to walk for 30 seconds. And I think we ended up doing 90 seconds. We're going to jog for 90 seconds. We are going to walk for 30 seconds from the gun, right from the start. And he was so frustrated in the beginning because you feel so good. And I was like, yo, stick to them. And people went off the front. Like, I'm not walking with you guys. We swept them up at the end. Long story short, Dan, I think for a new runner that's looking to push that distance, do not be, and whether you use the Callaway method or not, do not be afraid to walk occasionally. It's as simple as that. Don't be afraid to walk every once in a while. It makes it more enjoyable. It makes it easier. And my last advice would be to look up zone 2 heart rate training. I was lucky enough to be so out of shape and so unhealthy that when I first started running, I had to walk. I couldn't push my heart rate that high because I was that unfit. So kind of like my heart rate training and weight loss and sobriety and everything kind of like worked in tandem. But I think what happens when I see people that are fit and they know how to run and they run fast, what happens is they can't maintain that. Right. I think about the analogy of zone 2 like this, and maybe this is a bad analogy, but you'll see what I mean. If we took 2 identical vehicles, right? And at the start line, we had one vehicle slam on the gas, pedal to the floor, right? And the other one kind of just keep it at 40 miles per hour, right? Same exact vehicles. I can guarantee you that the first vehicle that went out with their foot on the floor, they're going to get to 100 miles. They're going to get to 200 miles. So is the other car. And they're going to get to 100 miles faster. And they're going to get to 200 miles faster. 300 miles, depending on the car, maybe not with the foot on the floor. They got there fast, but they're not going that much further. Meanwhile, the car that was going 40 miles an hour and not stressing the engine, they're going to go 3, but now they're going to go 350, and they're probably going to go 4 as well. And that's how I kind of think of heart rate training. Like, are you burning fuel to get somewhere fast and then taking away from the opportunity to go far? So maybe that might be a little bit of an issue too, man. Jacob Mooney knocking out 22 miles today. Going to smoke me in canyons. Oh, the legend. Guys, this guy right here doing Cocodona. Give it up for Chad. Crush Cocodona, man. Let's go. What are you planning on eating at Aid Stations and Canyons? Chad, funny you say this. Like, we've spoke about the honey stinger waffles and my love for awesome sauce, and I just added those untapped maple syrup packs. And it wasn't until the Grand Canyon 2 weeks ago where I really, especially speaking with guys, I'm a learner of the sport, still so new to the sport. And one thing I heard over and over again is depend on real food for as long as possible. Eat aid station food for as long as possible and use your gels and your waffles and everything else as a way for maintenance in between those aid stations. And I've never been that guy. One, I have a pretty weak stomach and I'm really like picky. Like I get palate fatigue very, very quickly. And the other was like, I never like depended on them. And I think I was in the mindset of always thinking that aid stations were like the ones at marathons where it's like Gatorade, a gel, and a banana. And it wasn't until I got into the sport, I'm like, oh man, I saw it firsthand at Grindstone. And I ate a bunch of peanut butter and jellies at Grindstone. I can eat peanut butter and jellies. So to answer your question, after the Grand Canyon, going into this race before the Grand Canyon, I was like, I'm going to eat honey stinger waffles and I'm going to eat awesome sauce and I'm going to eat maple syrup. And then maybe I'll eat an occasional food when I'm hungry. At the Grand Canyon, the guys were giving me real food. They were like, Brad, eat this sandwich. And I'm like, I don't know if I could eat a sandwich right now. Like, what's on there? And they're like turkey Swiss and mustard. And I'm like, turkey Swiss? I don't even eat that. And then like I would take a bite and I was like, oh my God, it's real food. And just like even the psychological feeling of eating real food and then eating real food again during the day, it made me realize that I can consume real food and that it was really, really good for me. So I think going into canyons at aid stations, I think I'm going to lower my expectation for 24 to 27, 30 hours eating stinger waffles and awesome sauce. And I think I am going to take advantage of peanut butter and jellies. I love peanut butter and jellies. There's an aid station right inside like a parking lot with a pizzeria I saw. I love pizza. I think I'm going to definitely shoot for some real food. I found that fatty foods, high fat foods will upset my stomach. So I will avoid like I'm not really a big bacon guy or things like that. But safe carbs for me. I for some reason I love guacamole, but and I saw how you just Jacob, you read my mind. But that really has to be really cold. But if you have any tips on that, maybe since you bring it up, what do you eat? What do you eat in Cocodona? Like, do you have gels in Cocodona? When does real food go? I also love Coca-Cola. I mean, all the little things. And in Grindstone, maybe because it was really cold, I loved soup. There was like an aid station that had like a chicken noodle or like a ramen soup, and I was really into that. I'm not really a pretzels chips guy. Maybe I'll have a chip, but I'm not really into that. Definitely not into sweets. I never have a sugar tooth, so you'll never see me eating like candy or Oreos. Well, famous last words, right? Here I am, Oreos. But yeah, no, that's what I'm planning on eating right now. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna try. I saw like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich has like roughly 320 calories. So the aid stations are, I would say, an average of like 9 miles apart. I think if I can lower my honey stinger waffles and awesome sauce, and then maybe rely on a little bit more real food, I think that's it. I have one more long run, which we're going to talk about coming up, and I'm going to eat some more real food. My last one last week, I brought a peanut butter and jelly. I've never brought a peanut butter and jelly. I've never brought a real food on a long run. I brought a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on the last one, and once again, just the psychology of like eating food and just being like, hmm. And I can see in like a 24-hour plus race, like the idea of like, ooh, this is lunch, or okay, this is my dinner before the night, or this is breakfast, I think is going to help me mentally. So thank you so much for asking that question, man. And like I said, you're a legend, dude. Oh, nice. I finally broke 300 pounds down from 380 and can run a 5K without stopping. You inspire me, man. I hope you're still doing your long runs. Yeah, man. Oh, dude. Yes. Yes. And you want to know what? Like, it's so easy to congratulate somebody for losing weight. And I think it's different when you know what, like, how good they feel because of it. Like, not too many people, like, right, lose 80 pounds and, like, they don't feel good. But, like, I was just saying to somebody who's new to my Instagram page that I was 240 pounds less than 2 years ago. And the other day I weighed in at like 155, 156, which is very low for me. But when I was like 175, 180, and that was like a really, really good weight for me, it's just, I know how good it feels to have lost the weight. So for that, Brian, I'm glad you're feeling good. And man, running a 5K without stopping is, not many people do that. It's very easy to look at like influencers and people and ultra marathoners and be like, oh, that's so much. Dude, I'm not taking anything away from a 5K. I'm coaching a guy right now that just PR'd his 10K and he didn't break an hour. And so many people want to break that hour. We were so pumped for this guy. He smoked it. I was so happy. I think he went 106, 107 on a tough course. Like, I've not forgotten what that feels like. So good for you, man. And I'm glad I can help. I can't take any credit, man. You did all the work. So good for you. And I'm still doing long runs. I'm not going anywhere. I got a lot of work to do. Chad just told me that he's signing up for the Arizona 300. So, that's a lot of work. We might have to F with that next year. I'll have guacamole and bread in my pockets. Actually, speaking of pockets, one thing in Grindstone I didn't do is I didn't have a Ziploc bag for food on the go. And if you haven't seen Jeff Peltier's Peltier, he's French. Jeff Peltier, I'm going to call him. He just released his Moab special, and he talked a lot about timers, taking care of your feet and food on the go. I think there was one other tip that he had for aid stations. I was taking notes, but I think back to Grindstone, and I literally sat at the table and like ate a whole peanut butter and jelly sandwich there, where I could have filled my bottles. I could have shoved that in a Ziploc bag and shoved it in my vest and like ate that on the way. And over the course of a long event, I think there's 16 or 17 aid stations and canyons. Like two minutes adds up to a half hour. So, yeah, there's gonna be some PBJs in my pockets. Burgers, pizza, and ramen. Yeah, man. Burgers, actually, now that you say it, burgers are one of those foods where I could take it down a burger. If I see one of those, I won't pass that up. Pizza, yeah, man, I love pizza. Sometimes it's a little fatty though. Sometimes the cheese, it depends. But the backyard ultra I did, I had like 3 pizzas at my table, and by the end just handing them out. And every lap I was just eating a slice of pizza, and man, I felt good. What's up, Chris? Chris, you're also doing canyons, right? Yeah, I think you're doing canyons too. How much are you planning on relying on your crew? So as you guys know, me and Jacob buddies, and such opposite spectrums. We're talking the other day, and he's like, "I'm making 100K, man. Good, yeah, fuck yeah, awesome." He's like, "Oh yeah, making my drop bags," and I'm like, "Drop bags? I haven't thought that far yet." And I'm like, "What about your crew?" And he's like, "Dude, I don't have a crew." He's like, "I got my partner coming with me, but she'll see me at here, there, and other than that, I got drop bags." And I'm thinking to myself, man, I am such a P word, because I don't know if I can emotionally go into this yet without having like a crew and pacer. But to answer your questions, I'm more relying on them because of like what they mean to me. I'm more so my crew is going to be my wife, and she's racing the 50K on Saturday. My 2 brothers are coming, my middle brother Jerry and my youngest brother Daniel. My youngest brother Daniel is running his first 50K this weekend, and then he's going to pace me from mile 62 to 74. So like those 2 guys, they've been there through my first Ironmans. They've watched Gerard's, like he's always been like athletic, but never like all into something like this, like I am. But man, he's always been there. So my first Ironman, first guy there, they left college. Like, so depending on them is more like they're my brothers. They're like a part of my team. More like I couldn't imagine experiencing something epic without them. So like I depend on them just to be like part of me. If Gerard called me tomorrow, I was like, Brad, I can't make it. I'd be devastated. But I mean, obviously he'd have a really, really good reason. And then my buddy Ryan, he's coming out and he's gonna pace me for the last 25 miles. Just another guy that like has become one of my best friends that we just met in this community. And I think I'm going to depend on him a lot. He's a lot more experienced. He's a lot stronger than I am as far as running and ultra marathons and elevation. And I will honestly say that I feel a little bit of relief knowing that he's going to be there for me. And I think out of all of my crew and aid, I think Ryan is the one that um, I feel the most dependence on. Like, be okay if he wasn't there, but I feel like Ryan is the difference between me just getting to the finish line and me finishing strong. He knows how to motivate me. He knows how to push me. He knows like my body language. He knows when I'm feeling good and we should go. This is from us training together. So like I don't think I need him to survive, but I think that if I come across the finish line with like a time that I'm really like, holy cow, we did this. I think Ryan and Dan are going to have a major, major part of that. So that's kind of what I'm really looking for. I have a really big goal to finish before my wife finishes. I would love to be there for her when she's done. So like Ryan knows his job. And then also too, I also know from the 100K, like the 100K was just my wife and I and no pacers. I look really, really forward to the relationships that I'm going to form on course. And I know like Jacob and I are going to run together for a while until he decides he has to, stop waiting around for me and get the thing done. So like, I think too, besides crew and pacers, I'm more excited for the relationships. And I've seen like documentaries and stuff where people link up on course and they really do a good job of motivating each other. When I'm feeling good, I'm an excellent motivator. I love pushing people and I love positivity and I love my low moments just like anything else. But yeah, I hope that answered your question, Chris. And I look forward to meeting you out there, man. Please get my DMs or something. We need to hook up. I know maybe you're speaking with Jacob too. But if you have any questions about the 100K, please let me know, man. Yeah, I do. It's a very, very good support system. And I'm very lucky that they're all flying across the country for me. Like Auburn, California is not close. My brothers, they're here. Ryan's here. They're all flying, and it's hard to ask people to fly. It's hard to ask people to crew. You can always ask me. I want to go. I want to crew everybody. Chad, you need a pacer? Give me a call. But like I'm for that because I love the adventure and I love seeing people just achieve the shit out of their goals. It's just one of the things that winds my clock right now. So yeah, I'm very, very lucky. How do you balance time with life, training, stress? Yeah, man, you saw what was going on this weekend with me. I am in the dad weeds right now. If you have kids, like I am in the spring sports and activities, birthday parties. My daughter is a savage. She does swimming, soccer, gymnastics, lacrosse, and Ninja Warrior. And loves them all equally. It's like I thought when I got her involved in all these activities that every once in a while she'd be like, "Can we just skip soccer today?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, no big deal." But like kid like lines up her outfits for the day, like lines up her activities for the day. I think what helps me balance it is like that is the most incredible thing to watch. It is so awesome to see your kids get excited for stuff that doesn't excite you. It's one thing like I was an amazing lacrosse player, not amazing. I was a really, really good lacrosse player and I want my kids to play lacrosse. Like my wife is a national champion lacrosse player. So when Avery's like, I want to play lacrosse, we get, yeah. But I didn't do gymnastics or Ninja Warrior or like, I didn't compete in swimming. So like to see her just so fired up, like like washing her goggles before we go to swim, like that's a good way to help me balance stress. And then I think as far as time, I get to bed really early. Like my whole house is in bed right now. It is 8:21 Eastern Standard Time. The whole house is asleep. And if it wasn't Monday, I'd be asleep too. So I think that's really important for balancing stress. I read something or heard somebody say, like, if you would sleep through your alarm clock, then you're not getting enough sleep. I don't have an alarm clock. I'm up every single morning. And I think ever since I started doing that, life and balance and stress, how else do I balance stress? I read the Daily Stoic, which seems really, really cliche, but that's helped me emotionally and balance stress. Being sober has helped me in my manic episodes and moodiness, and once again, not getting enough sleep. That's helped me. But also too, like I love, for the most part, training. I love the solitude. So I don't mind, just like I don't mind getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get first chair on a POW day. Like I don't mind getting up and going for a run. I don't mind putting the kids to bed and going for a run when I need to, if that's when I can fit it in. I will not sacrifice family time for running. I love my family more than it, and like my wife gives me outs all the time. That the thing with Saturday the other day when I was really, really stressed, and I was like, man, I literally from 6 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night, we had something going on. And she was like, Brad, Avery has a competition in gymnastics once a month. Like, why don't you go run? My parents are going to be there, her grandparents, like, we'll knock this out. And I said, thank you for that out. I am not going to miss my daughter's competition, even though it's like her rolling around the floor as a 6-year-old. I will not miss dinner with my in-laws when they come into town and they drive an hour out to see us. I will not miss that for running. And that's just, that's a contract I signed on myself. So that I don't know how. And like I think was it you that I mentioned, like you only see the good things. I have my moments. I mean, earlier on in training, I had my moments where like once a week I would throw a temper tantrum. But I'm in a flow state right now. I'm really, really, really excited about what's going on. And I think to that excitement has helped me balance the stress a little bit more. Guys, thank you so much. Keep the questions coming, please. This week's long run plan. All right, let's talk about this week. Last week we ended up getting 64 miles with the Grand Canyon. We had 79 planned, but that was with 50 in the canyon, which we didn't get. We didn't get 50. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Okay, here. This was planned for 50, but we only got 43. So that's where some mileage went away. And I had my first missed block. This is my first time I missed a running day, my first missed miles for the whole block. Any other red you see is strength days or roll days where I just don't put them in. But I will say, speaking of like stress and things like that, this is the first miles I've missed the whole training block. And I spoke to coach about it. And I just needed it. I needed to miss it. I was so nervous about the Grand Canyon. And I was traveling the next day early in the morning. It was my last day with my family for a couple of days. And I knew that it was just going to be junk miles. I knew that I was going to be miserable. I want this to be fun. There's a difference between like getting yourself out there when you know you should and signing contracts with yourself and just knowing when things are going to be unproductive. As I just mentioned, I knew I was going to be away from my family. At the time, my flight home was going to have me miss Easter morning. So I knew that was weighing over my head. I ended up changing my flight. But on that Wednesday, the night before I flew out and work, I didn't have 14 miles. I didn't have the time for it. And I mean, even with packing and packing again and packing again, this wasn't an opportunity where like I was sitting on the couch at 7 p.m. like, oh man, I should really go on this run. It was 3 p.m. and I listed out my minutes for the rest of the day. And I wasn't going to be done until 10:30, 11. That's when I called coach and was like, coach, like I'm putting things on paper here. I'm making a list, checking it twice. And it looks more naughty than nice. I don't know what to do here. And he's like, Brad, calm down, man. It's 14 miles. I'm like, coach, I don't miss miles. He's like, Brad, it's 14 miles, man. Like, Not a big deal. Go crush the Grand Canyon. Stop whining. And it made me feel a lot better. He didn't give me an out. He just made me feel a lot better about that situation. So, yeah, I guess I was a little baby bitch, but 12,000 feet of vert was the final for the week. And, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, Derek, I'll get to that, buddy. Let me just talk about this quick, and then I will definitely get to that question because there is a very big difference between Ironman and this. This past week, real quick, 70 miles on the calendar, 7,700 feet. Some of the highlights of the week, we got in a 24-mile run at 11:40 pace. I did the first 15 with my wife. That's not why it was slower, but I did do the first 15 with my wife, and you'll see the difference in pace when I'm by myself. 3,600 feet. Very, very, very nice day. These ones I've switched to a state park that's near me. You guys know I like to go run up on the North Shore of Long Island at a place called Spring Harbor Park. This one is just hill repeats. The reason I like this is it's less technical. So I can actually run the uphills and I can more run the downhills. I'll tell you this run here of 24 miles beat me up more than the Grand Canyon did. And it beat me up more than 26 in Cold Spring Harbor because of those downhills. Running these downhills, running down 3,600 feet, it beat me up. So I've been staying in there. Also, very less likely I'm going to sprain my ankle on less technical terrain, and I am a little bit worried about that. I do have glass ankles. But other than that, we did a 6 on Tuesday, an 8 on Wednesday, an 8 on Thursday before the big 24. I did 9 on Saturday. That 9 on Saturday was at night. This was the one where I posted the Instagram reel. This was one of those where I was sitting on the couch at 7:45, 8 o'clock going, I don't want to run today. I don't want to run today. I don't want to run today. And then I punished myself for whining. So I had to do, I did 8:28, which is, like I said, is low zone 2 for me right now, 132 beats per minute. Nice and flat, 120 feet. But that got 9 miles in about an hour and 15 minutes. And then we ended up the week here, that same exact route. So pretty much just start in the parking lot. It comes up. It goes up to about, what is this? 123 feet, comes back down, and then it goes back up to 185 feet, and then back to the car. That's one loop. I did that 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. So that was the exact same 15 that my wife did the other day. We got it done in 10:39 pace. Got another 2,500 feet. Coach wants 500 to 1,000 feet per hour. So pretty much right there in the higher end, not quite 1,000, but really, really good. All right. Before we talk this week, let me just answer this quick question that Derek has. I will love to answer this. As far as like my nutrition, how it was different than Ironman into ultramarathon. This is definitely more running, but a little different. I would say in Ironman, it's shorter, or it should be. But I think it was a lot less bouncing. I ate a lot more on the bike, but I think maybe this was just the time that I was doing Ironmans. I did a lot more liquid calories. I didn't eat. Like I didn't have pockets full of food like I do here. I'm not wearing a vest in Ironman. So it was a lot more aid station bananas, aid station, things like that. But really mostly was things inside my bottles. I also used more protein on the bike, just because I think because of the muscles and the demand of the quads. I think those are really the major differences. And also higher carbs in Ironman because it tends to be a little bit more higher effort. So I've lowered carbs per hour. I've gone to more solid foods as opposed to food in my bottles. And in running, I sweat a lot more. So my electrolytes per hour is higher. I think those are the 3 major differences. But the amount of calories I want to consume per hour was the same in Ironman as it is here. Also, I will say, even though I have 4 Ironmans under my belt, I did not train properly for them. I kind of just did them on physical fitness, which is why my times range from 14:30 up to 16, just missing the cutoff. I think if I did Ironman right now, like this weekend, I would probably go about 12 and a half hours, I think. I've stated before that ultramarathon is way harder than Ironman. And I'm sorry for people that disagree, but until I can find somebody that's done a 100-miler and done the Ironman to have a conversation or a debate about it with, the only people that want to debate me are people that have done the Ironman, never done a 100-miler. But I'd even say 100K is harder than Ironman. And the fact that I have done Ironmans on just physical fitness alone, general fitness alone, and you cannot do that in a 100-miler, I think, yeah. So here's this week. This week is a big week for me, 80 miles. So this puts to bed all of the, is Brad ever going to run a 100-mile week before his race? It's to bed. I am not going to run a 100-mile week before this race. I am not going to run a 90-mile week during this race. I am not going to run an 85. I don't think I did 85. What was my biggest one? 79, I think. Oh, I didn't. I think 79 is my biggest week. 79 right here. And it was funny. So I was like, Coach, I hit 80? And he's like, oh, we'll hit 80. But I didn't hit 79. Oh, that was the Grand Canyon week. I didn't hit 79. So 75? 75 might be the biggest. Nope, I hit 80. Okay. On the week of February 4th to the 10th, I hit 80. So that was the only other time I've hit 80. And yeah, now we're going to do that. We're going to hit 80. I have a rest day. I told Coach before he even programmed it, I am ready. I am ready for it. That's what I said to him right here. So we had our rest day today. I'm going to stretch 7 miles tomorrow and then my weekly Tabata. I love it. That's my high anaerobic heart rate. And then Wednesday, I am off from school. I have a very big Muslim population, and Ramadan's coming to an end tomorrow night at sundown. So we have the 10th off for Ramadan. My kids have school because in my district that they live in, there's not a big Muslim population. So I get myself 28 easy miles. And I will mention this quick. There is a very popular local 50K here on Saturday. My brother's doing it. His first one. It was my first one last year that I wobbled through in 7.5 hours with a broken ankle. I was on the list. I took my name off of it like 5 months ago. And it was a 50K was a little bit too close to the race. When I first spoke to Coach about it, he's like, yeah, I agree. Then he gives me 28. I was like, what the fuck? He's like, dude, you've done better with training than I thought you would. And also too, like, there's a difference between a 28-mile training run and a 31-mile race. He knows that I only know full send. And also too, the race is flatter than he wants me to run this 28. So I'm going to run the 28 as a training run alone. I'm actually think I'm going to start at about 2:30 in the morning, get a little bit of overnight into the morning plus a long run, like get that last bit of confidence. But 28 miles on Wednesday, that is the last long run. Man, if you follow me on Instagram on Wednesday the 10th, you are going to see a look of excitement on my face on the 10th. That is, I cannot wait, guys. I cannot wait. Not because I don't want any more long runs, but because I did it. Like if I get to there, I feel like I did it, and that's going to be a really, really big day for me. The plan is to get 4,500 to 5,000 feet on that run. I'm essentially going to do this loop that I did the other day. So this loop here, it got me 2,400 feet in 15 miles. So yeah, I'll be at right around 4,500 feet. It might be a little bit slower because, like I said, I am going to start in the nighttime, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Jacob, if you want to come out and run some overnight, feel free. And then Thursday, we're going to do some more hills, 8 miles. Friday, 7, which, guys, anything under 10 right now is just like, it's comparable to when I first started. And it was like just a go out for a mile run, like going out for a 7-mile, 8-mile run. I feel like I can be like, hold on, sweetheart, hold my drink. I'll be right back. And I'm back. I love it. Saturday, 14 miles. This will be at night as well because I'm an aid station captain for that 50K. If you're in the Northeast and you want to come down and help me aid station a 50K and 100K, please let me know because I got to get some volunteers for that by Saturday. My brother's running his first race. There's a chance that it's a public trail. I'm not an advocate for banditing. I'm not going to bandit this race. and I'm not going to run on the course with the runners. But there's a chance, like maybe on some of the bigger, more public spots, I might try and piece this 14 miles together, just, running on there, maybe sweeping the aid stations at the end. So if I don't get out at night, I might do that. I might be a course sweeper and get my 14 miles in that way. And then the last run of this training block, as far as peak week, is going to be a 16-mile more hills. So I'm hoping this week to not only get 80 miles. What was my elevation on that February 4th? Let's go back. I want my biggest vert week too, which was the Grand Canyon last week. But what did I get in this 80-mile week? 60, 70. That week, I got 9,129 feet. Yeah, so we're gonna smoke that. So guys, F it. Let's F around and find out. Let's put it on paper right now. My biggest week is 80 miles. My biggest vert is 12,037. So let's get 80.5 and let's go over 12,000 feet. I do not live a mile away. Reschedule PT. I don't live a million miles away. Come on out. How about this? If you come out and run hills with me on Wednesday, I'll take you to a steak dinner. I'll take you to the steakhouse. We'll go in muddy feet, maybe not so muddy, but I'll take you to a preem, like a nice steakhouse. Or if you're not a steak guy, I'll take you wherever you want for lunch or dinner. On my word. Come run with me, keep me company. Bring your girl too if you want. I'll take you. We'll go on a double date or something like that. I'm serious like a heart attack on that one. I would love the company. That is going to leave into, here's what taper looks like, guys. 80 down to 40. Now, I consider this day, the 21st, my last day. This whole week of the 22nd to the 26th, we'll be running on feel. I don't think in the conversations that we had, I have one last conversation with Coach on Thursday. We're going to talk race strategy and things like that. I think this is going to be a run by feel kind of week. So this is the end of training. So those stickers that I have in my on my mirror, that's it. So the long run is 10 miles that week. Let's go. 10-mile long run, 5 miles. I really don't want to sound like this guy, but I'm going to be honest. When I used to ride bicycles, I loved riding bikes. I was riding 200 miles a week, maybe 225 miles a week. If something like came up and I could only go ride for like 10 to 15 miles, it wasn't even worth it. I was like, I'm going to have to get dressed. I'm going to break a sweat. I got to do all this work, fill bottles, just go out there. Like if I wasn't going far, it really wasn't worth it. And I'm almost at that snobby point in my training where I'm like, 5 miles, like 5 miles. I don't want to have to take a shower for 5 miles. Yep. That's me. Snobby ultra runner Brad. But yeah. And it's looking like I'm going to go in with a nice little CTL. What's my CTL right now? 85. We'll bring it down to probably the low 70s. And then here it is. We have a couple more weeks before we actually get there. In the subsequent weeks of this podcast leading into it, I'm going to talk pace strategy. You'll know exactly where I want to be. You'll be able to watch the race and know he's doing really good. He's doing really crappy. He's doing mid. Like I will give you that that perspective. My brother Dan's also going to take over my Instagram, so there'll be updates that way. And Danny's one of those people that always has the brand new iPhone, so not me. I still have a home button on my phone. So yeah, I think that's it for training last week. This week, are there any other questions going in? Also, I will say, like on this channel, I'm going to be doing a poll review video. So stay tuned for that, as well as the 12-liter pack that I use in Canyons. First time using the 12-liter. An amazing pack. I really, really liked it a lot. It's not my 5-liter, but it's really, really good. I'll give another second if you guys have any questions. If not, we will get out of here. Find an Ironman, half Iron. Like I said, I have so much respect for the sport of triathlon, but it doesn't do it for me anymore. It just doesn't do it for me anymore. I've done endurance swimming. I swam over 6 miles. I did the cross-based swim here, and riding, I'm not going to ride on the roads here anymore. I have a gravel bike. I have an all-city Macho Man gravel bike. Love it. All aluminum. I'm just not going to ride my bike. I'm not getting hit by a car. I've gotten hit by a car. I'm never getting hit by a car again. Triathlon does nothing for me emotionally. It would take a huge hater on social media, because I do respond well to bullying, to get me to do the Ironman. And yeah. Do you have an idea of your finish time? What's your goal? Yeah, we'll talk about that. I mean, I can say briefly without giving too much away. My goal is to finish, because I didn't make the cut at Grindstone. So I need to get one under my belt. That's first and foremost. I want to go sub 24 and get the other buckle. And I know that if I go sub 24, I'll have a really good chance of being in the top of my age group, which is important to me. I don't need to win it. I don't think I can win my age group. It's a North America final. But I would like to be in the top 10% of my age group, I think. I think that's like my high expectation goals. My reach goals are like in that top 10% of my age group. But I think realistically, 27 to 30 hours is kind of where I'll be. It's hard because they changed the course. So like there's people in the sport where I kind of know how I'd pace up against them, and I know general fitness. Like I know how fast or slow I am compared to a guy like Andy Glaze, for example. And I know what he did at Canyons. So by knowing if I'm faster or slower than him, I could say, all right, I should be a little bit this time or a little bit that time. But I can't really do that at Canyons because they ran different courses. But I think it's very, very realistic for me to think that I can go 15 and a half to 16 and a half minutes per mile with all the aid stations and everything, which would get me in that 27 to 30. I can say I'm not I want to finish. That's not my goal. If I come in at 34 hours, I'm going to be upset about it. Unless something happens. Like if I get injured or something, right? But like if I have like a relatively good day and my relatively good day is 34 hours, I'm going to be upset about it. I will be 100% with you about that. I know maybe I shouldn't, and maybe this is ignorance, but I have time goals. And everyone tells me I shouldn't, and everyone tells me I should go out there and enjoy myself. Enjoying myself will be smashing this. That'll be enjoying it. My wife is also, as I mentioned earlier, running the 50K. She starts at 6 a.m. She's probably going to go about 6.5 hours tops. So I want to be in by noon. And in by noon is 27 hours. So I think if I'm in by noon, all right. If I'm in by 1, but once we go over 30 hours, I'll probably be like, damn it. Like what happened? I'll have to really, 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 really reevaluate. Yeah, Corey, I've swum a 10K. Yeah. I think if I was going to go pro in anything, it would probably be swimming. I know I don't look it, but they're just a surfer in me living on Long Island. I'm very, very comfortable in the water. If you know any Ironman, like I swim under an hour in Ironman. I think my slowest Ironman time was like 105 for 2.5 miles. So I'm very, very comfortable in the water. But yeah, the cross-based swim, it goes from the barrier beach across the bay up to the mainland. Do you have any sleep rituals that help you recover? I sleep a lot, man. Simple as that. I go to bed very early. Early on in my life, somebody told me when I had kids, like sleep on their schedule and your life will get better. So early on, even before I started running again, I started going to bed earlier. And this and the occasional Ranger game, like when I stay up and watch the Rangers, most of the time I'll just record it and watch it the next day. But I'm in bed by 7:30. Like sometimes I'm in bed texting till 8:30, whatever. But like I am like horizontal by 7:30, pretty much every night, but Monday nights. And I can stay up a little bit later tonight because I did not run. So I'm like wired right now. Like usually at the end of the day, I'm really, really, really tired. So yeah, I think just the ritual is I got to get 8 hours. I got to get 8 hours. Let me see if doesn't really show. It used to show all my analytics and things like that, but let me see if I can just, so you don't think I'm like talking out my ass, but like 7.85, 8.35, 9.42, 7, 7.88, 7, wow, 3.9. What the hell? Oh, that was rim to rim. I was like, man, I only slept 4 hours, 8 hours this night, 9, 7, 8, 8, 8, 7.5. Like if you go back and just look, 8.33, I'm a sleeper. And I don't know like too many adults that are like getting enough sleep like that. So I think definitely sleep. I will end this podcast. I'll send a text to Jacob or something on the way up, and then I'll be asleep by, what time is it right now? 8:47. I'll be REM sleep, snoring by 9:15. How's the weather? It won't be like grindstone. Got to layer up. Got to layer up like rim to rim to rim. So right now, in this next week, they only have weather up until Wednesday, I want to say. And it's looking like mid 70s during the day, low 40s at night. It's definitely not going to, I don't think I'm going to get hypothermia, thank God. Yeah, so that grindstone will be out. Mid low 40s, depending on the wind. I should be okay. Because you can't have spectators at the start, I'm probably going to have to wear some old hoodies, or I'll go down to the thrift store and I'll get some like old flannel shirts that I'll just strip at the start. But at the night, I'll be prepared for 40s. I'll be okay with that. But right now during the day, the weather is looking like it could be in the mid 70s. There was like 1 or 2 days next week that didn't get to the 70s, like 68 or 69. Nice. But I'm not concerned about the weather. It is what it is. I learned from triathlon, you can't worry about the weather. You should look and be prepared for all weathers, but if it's 80 degrees, it's 80 degrees. I'd rather be too warm than too hot. I think I'm stronger mentally when I'm hot than when I'm cold. When I don't mind just sweating and drinking so much water. But like when I catch a chill, that's no bueno for me. Have I touched the peach flavor since last week? Yes, I have. Yeah, it was just that day. I don't know, that day. I usually love it. But yeah, I had it right away. I'm back on it. I'm not gonna run with it again though, mostly because I looked at the nutrition. It's more of a thing in a pre-workout than like the sodium was only 100 milligrams a packet. But I'm an idiot. I didn't look at that beforehand. I just thought about like the taste and things, and these are lessons we learn. I learned that look at the effing nutrition before you go on a epic adventure. Things like that, you know. Thanks so much, Derek, for all the questions, man. I appreciate you. All right. Is that it? Sweet. I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. If you ever watch a video, leave a comment, please. Or like when this goes to like live, leave a comment. YouTube likes that. Help push it to more people. And like I said, if you got $1 a month, consider heading over to Spotify, becoming a channel member over on Spotify. I help cover things like the streaming service. StreamYard.com is what I'm using. Not sponsored. All right, guys. I'll see you next week. We're gonna have an awesome week. If you're in the Northeast, like I said, Wednesday we're going out for a long one. Let's go crush. Come join me. I'll be in Sunken Meadow State Park all day. And if you're around in the weekend in the Northeast, the Jersey City Marathon is in town. Pierce Show is going to be trying to qualify for Boston there. Jeremy Miller is going to be in town. But if you want to come out and see the trail scene, awesome ultramarathon run by Happily Running. It's called the Shore to Shore. It runs from the North Shore of Long Island down the Greenbelt straight down to the South Shore. I will be an aid station captain in that, and we could always use some volunteers. Not my race, but I could use some volunteers because I told the RD that I will be I'll be the best. The name of my aid station is third base. It's right by like a little league field. And I was like, me with my dad jokes. I was like, the third base aid station is going to be a home run. All right, Corey, your race is coming up too, man. So you out there pacing, helping people achieve their dreams. Kick ass. Take names. Take it easy, guys. See you next week, or see you in the DMs. Have a good one.